At the heart of your startup strategy, at the heart of your go-to-market strategy is your manifesto. Your manifesto explains exactly who you are, the transformation you're bringing into the world, and why people should buy from you. Here's the thing though, there's a huge difference between a manifesto and a mission statement. There's a huge difference between a manifesto that accelerates leads, builds trust, and gets deals to close versus a manifesto that's just sitting on your website with a link on it and no one actually reads. Now, when you have the right manifesto, when you've crafted it in the right way, leads will actually convert faster. Deals that you actually are in, when you're running the sales process, will convert. It'll actually accelerate deal cycles. And best of all, a manifesto fuels right into your pitch deck as well when you're raising funding. So here's a big question. What makes for an effective manifesto? In this episode, having worked on hundreds of manifestos with startup founders, I'm gonna walk you through, number one, what is it and what it's not. Number two, how to build an effective manifesto. And number three, what to do with it once you've actually built it so that it actually helps you generate revenues. And when you watch this entire episode, you're gonna know how to build your unstoppable manifesto. Intro. Hi, I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS and AI founders like you grow your businesses faster with an unstoppable go-to-market strategy. So if you're new to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my programs, my people, welcome back. Really awesome to see you over here. Now, let's dig right into it. A manifesto is one of those things where when done right, it becomes the most effective tool in your go-to-market arsenal. I've worked on hundreds of manifestos with founders. And the biggest thing that I've learned is founders who just treat it as a checklist item. They're like, oh yeah, I gotta build my manifesto. They don't do very well. Founders that treat it like a process, they actually craft that manifesto. It feeds into everything that they do in their go-to-market motions. It feeds into their messaging, their outbound emails, their ad campaigns, and yes, even your homepage, which I know you're changing right now. So in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to craft an effective manifesto. If you're excited to dig in, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's dig right into it. So first, let's talk about what is a manifesto. A manifesto is something that, when done right, is about a 6 to 10 slide deck. And it starts off as Google Slides or PowerPoint. It is not very heavy on builds or animations or graphics. It's really focusing on the content. And inside of this slide deck, you're really fleshing out some key pieces that explain who you are in the world, who this is for, your offering, and why they should trust you and why they should take action now. Essentially, it's answering two key questions. Number one, why you? And number two, why now? Now, when we get into number two, I'll walk you through some of the critical components that go into these slides. But let's talk about what it's not. A lot of times, founders think that their manifesto is their mission statement. Sometimes they think their manifesto is some sort of page on their website. I've literally gone to websites where it says, our manifesto. Here's the thing, no one cares, and no one's gonna click on that link, and no one's gonna view it. Most importantly, believe it or not, your manifesto is actually not about you. It is about the customer. And the reason the manifestos that you build and you create to fuel your go-to-market strategy and your go-to-market motions, the reason they're effective is because of this single thing. You stop talking about you and you start talking more about your customer. So in order to have a proper manifesto, you wanna make sure you actually have a 6 to 10 slide deck. You're focusing on the content of it, not the design. And you're really talking about why they should pick you in their world by talking about the customer and why they need to do it now. So that's principle number one. That's step number one. That's the first thing I wanted to cover because I see a lot of confusion out there about what a manifesto is. Now, let's dig into what makes for an effective manifesto. I've worked on hundreds of manifestos with founders and CEOs of all different revenue stages. In fact, the other day I was in a room, we were locked in, we were doing a one-day workshop, and we spent probably 2 hours just talking about the title of the manifesto. So when you're building out your effective manifesto, there's some critical components you need to be thinking about that go into this 6 to 10 slide deck. And by the way, I'm going to walk you through what makes for an effective manifesto, and then I'm going to talk about what to do about it, what to do with it. Because clearly, just posting on your homepage saying it's your manifesto or posting on LinkedIn isn't going to cut it. The first thing that you really want to think about is your title of your manifesto. This is something that you're going to be sharing all across your go-to-market motions. So the title is super important. It's kind of like the subject line of an outbound email. If people don't really believe in that subject line and they won't click on it, and it doesn't matter what slide 2 through 10 incorporates. So the title is one of the most important things. Let me give you an example. No one goes out there, at least the effective founders, and says, here's my manifesto, do you want it? Because your customers, your prospects, your ideal customers don't know what a manifesto is. They don't know you. They don't care. So the title of a manifesto has to be, again, about the customer, not about you. So let's take my manifesto. I have multiple ones for each of my companies. Every time I start a company, I eventually build a manifesto. Here for Unstoppable, our whole mission is to help AI and SaaS founders drive growth. So the name of my manifesto is the 5-point AI and SaaS Growth Strategy Guide. That's the name of my manifesto. If you want to grab a copy of it, I'll link to it below. You don't have to go anywhere right now. That's the title. So you never title the manifesto just, here's my manifesto. You make it something meaningful to the customer. You make it something that resonates with the problems that you solve, that helps your customers self-identify and say, oh, I am an AI founder. I'm a SaaS founder. I'm a SaaS founder that's adding AI features. That's for me. And therefore they'll opt in. So the title is super important. The second thing that's super important to incorporate early on in your manifesto is a macro trend. Again, if there's one ethos that you really want to embrace, it's the idea that it has to be about the customer. So I always like to include a key macro trend. Going back to that workshop, it was this company called Channel 99, and they're an incredible company, and they're going to be doing great things. They're doing a ton of incredible things around AI and marketing spend, how to actually figure out what's working, what's not, and how to drive the right campaigns. By the way, if you are a marketer at a mid-market or enterprise company, you should definitely check out Channel 99. I'll link to it below. Now for them, we spent probably another hour talking through what is the right macro trend. It's not always obvious. You want to pick the macro trend that really resonates with the customer. You want to choose a macro trend that clarifies, hey, you can do nothing right now. You can just move on with your life and keep with your status quo, but here's why you should do something different. And that's super powerful. The macro trend that I love for Unstoppable, for my manifesto, is this trend about a high failure rate when it comes to SaaS businesses. It's too early to tell with AI. However, with AI founders that I'm working with, what we're finding is we don't know enough about a failure rate, but we know that there's a huge macro trend around the durability of revenue. It's really easy to get a bunch of ARR, but it's actually really hard to keep that ARR because everyone is in an experimentation phase for AI. Those are examples of macro trends that work for my ICP. What you want to figure out is what is the macro trend that ties between what's relevant in your customers' lives and makes it relevant for the product or service that you're selling. The third thing that you really want to have in your manifesto is your transformation. Transformations are always easily explained by talking about the old way and the new way. So for example, with Unstoppable, the old way is to just go look at a bunch of YouTube videos and ask ChatGPT and sit in a dark room alone and figure out what your go-to-market strategy is going to be. The new way is to follow a proven process. That's simple. That's the simple transformation. Now, your transformation may be more sophisticated depending on who you're selling to. It may be sophisticated because you're selling to the enterprise and the competition is really high, or maybe even simpler than mine. It may be that, hey, you're using paper and pencil right now, and you should transform your operations to something that's actually digitized. One of the clients that I'm working with right now is in the self-storage industry. They are an entire CRM and hardware provider for the self-storage industry. Huge market. Believe it or not, one of their key ICPs are people, self-storage operators that are actually still not digitized. So their transformation is actually a heck of a lot simpler than even mine and maybe yours. So the transformation depends on who your ideal customer is and what's going on in their lives. And again, Remember, the ethos goes back to who the customer is. Now, in the 6 to 10 slides, and it does vary in size, one of the key things you want to do is you want to structure this so it stands on your own. If I have to walk you through my manifesto and read it to you and explain it to you, then it won't work. It has to stand on its own. And the reason for this, and I'll get to this in number 3, where I tell you what to do with the manifesto when you have it, but when you're building it, it needs to stand on its own, which means you can add some other components like case studies and explaining what your offering does and actually building more trust and your credibility. So those are some of the key things that go into your manifesto. But remember, it needs to be about the customer and it needs to stand on its own, which is why you probably don't want it to be a 50 slide deck. It needs to be 6 to 10 slides so that it's consumable and it can stand on its own. Once you have a manifesto, and remember, it's super easy to choose the title. You can use ChatGPT to have it generate a title for you. The question is it the right title? Is it going to work in the market? Is it the right macro trend? These are the nuances that us humans are still responsible for because AI can't decide that. You know your ideal customer best, so you'll be able to figure out what is the right title, what is the right macro trend, what is the right transformation, and what are all the key pieces in your manifesto so your customers really resonate with it. Okay, once you have that, then you get into number 3. What do you do with it? What exactly happens with these 6 to 10 slides? Now, before I go into number 3, let me pause here for a second. If you're getting value from this video, if you're getting excited about building your manifesto, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that. If you have questions about how to craft your manifesto, put in the comments below. I monitor it all the time. I respond to every single comment. And also, if you got value, just put value in the chat. That means the world to me as well. Okay. Once you have the manifesto, what do you do with it? What do you do with these 6 to 10 slides? Well, let's talk about what you're not going to do. You're not going to go and post on LinkedIn and say, here's my manifesto, because remember, now then you're making it about you versus the customer. No one cares about your manifesto. No one even knows you or trusts you yet. You're not going to put it on your website with a little link saying, please read our manifesto. It's super weird. Don't do it. No one's going to click on it, and they're going to think you're like the Unabomber or something like that. So you don't want to do either of those two things. Now, having worked on so many of these manifestos, here's what we do. We take the manifesto and we actually deploy it. We call this deploying it into our go-to-market machine. There are a few key areas. I have so many cool colors now, so let's see which one I want to pick. Let's go with this one. There's a few key areas where you deploy the manifesto. The first one is the easiest one. It's your homepage. You know that little hero section and the subtitle, and you're constantly changing it because you're not quite sure what to put on it and what's really going to resonate and what your company's about. And it's super hard to pick because it feels limiting on one hand. On the other hand, it feels too abstract or too aspirational. Well, the first thing we change based on the manifesto, based on the work that we did on the manifesto to get to the title, to get to the macro trend, to get to the transformation, to figure out our value proposition, is the homepage. You will finally have the right headline and the subheadline for your homepage that's actually going to convert. So you deploy it in your homepage first. The second thing you do is you deploy it as a lead magnet. A lead magnet is something that where you take this manifesto, which is just 6 to 10 slides, but very informational, and you turn it into something that's a guide or a checklist. I use a software called Instant with anyone that I work with. I also own the company, and we built it because so many founders that I work with build manifestos and turn them into lead magnets. So you can literally go to useinstant.com and you'll plug in your website and it'll build out a landing page for you, and then you can upload your manifesto and you can go live and you can promote it. So you can start to generate leads using your manifesto, which is super powerful. The third thing that I've seen work really well with the manifesto is it becomes the first few slides of your sales deck. If you have a sales process, first few slides is usually used in the discovery call after you ask some important discovery questions before you go to the demo. That's a proper sales process. Now, if you don't have a sales process yet, you should check out this video where I really dug into how to architect your sales process. You don't have to go anywhere right now. I'll link to it below as well. But your sales deck actually gets 10x'd along with your homepage and your lead magnet because you've done the work on building your manifesto. So the sales deck really starts to architect, and this is, remember in the beginning of the video, I was telling you when the manifesto is done right, it actually can accelerate deal cycles. Well, that's why, because you can deploy that narrative into the sales stack and people will start to pay more attention. Same with the leads. It'll actually accelerate your lead generation and your pipeline because the messaging will really attract your ICP. your ideal customers. The next piece that I've seen get impacted when you deploy the manifesto are your ads and your outbound. The work that you do to really craft your manifesto between the macro trend and the transformation and the rest of the slides, they all become fodder for your ads. They all become fodder for the subject lines of your cold emails and the copy in your cold emails. So all of this becomes bullets that you can fuel into your machine, your gun, to actually say, hey, here's the actual messaging that's going to resonate with our ICP because it resonates with the customer. And the bonus one that we've seen work really well as founders really start to develop their manifesto and get it out there, they start generating more leads, their homepage is clear, their sales deck is crushing it, their ads are humming, their outbound is humming, but also it feeds into your pitch deck. Again, it's the transformation. If you think about the first few slides of a great pitch deck, well, in that case, the pitch deck becomes a lot more compelling because your messaging is right, your narrative is right. If you're building out your pitch deck and you're trying to figure out your fundraising process, you're trying to figure out what are all the slides that go into a pitch deck beyond the first few slides of the manifesto, you can check out this video where I got into the details of how to actually navigate seed funding right now in this time and space of AI. Okay, so those are all the key pieces that actually get revamped because of your work in doing the manifesto. Your homepage, your lead magnet, your sales deck, your ads, and even your pitch deck, which is awesome. All right, so let's recap. To write your manifesto, number one, your manifesto is 6 to 10 slides. It should be explaining why they should choose you and why they should do it now. But you have to do it in a way where you're not talking about you, you're talking about the customer. You cannot call it a manifesto. An effective manifesto has a great title that your customers will want. It has a macro trend. It explains the transformation you're bringing into the market. It has all of those things packed into the 6 to 10 slides. And remember, it has to stand on its own. If you have to walk through it, if you have to explain it, then it's not good enough. Once you have an effective manifesto, don't just put it on your website and say, here's our manifesto. No one cares. You don't want to call it a manifesto. You don't want to just post it on your website or do a LinkedIn post about it. You want to deploy that messaging, the raw ingredients from the manifesto, into your homepage. You want to take the manifesto and turn it into a lead magnet. If you want to launch your lead magnet for inbound leads, use useinstant.com. That's what I recommend. You can also turn it into a sales deck, the first few slides. You can fuel your ads and your outbound using the messaging you've developed in your manifesto. And lastly, you can make it the first few slides of your pitch deck as well. So now you know what goes into creating an effective manifesto. By the way, if you want my help in actually crafting your manifesto, then you should check out my go-to-market program. My go-to-market program helps you build out your ideal customer profile, your manifesto, and then inside of the program, I teach you how to run a Broadway show, which is a consistent set of sales and marketing activities that deploys your manifesto across all these key areas. If you want to learn more, just go to tkkader.com/GTM. On that page, you'll get the pricing, you'll get all the engagement options ranging from group coaching all the way to my team and I fly to your offices and do the whole thing for you, all the way to, well, that's pretty much the premium option. Just go to tkkader.com/GTM for all the details. Now, if you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It just loves it when you do that, and so do we. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics on how to grow your AI and or SaaS business faster. Right now, I'm an AI founder. I'm building AI companies. Instant is one of my companies that I'm actively scaling using the principles that I teach in this channel. I'm also working with founders on building their go-to-market because all the companies that I own are go-to-market companies. So I care about the principles, and that's what I bring in this channel. It is an exciting time. It is a noisy time. It is a frothy time. So it's important more than ever to have a differentiated go-to-market strategy so you can stand out. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon that you get notified every single time I drop an episode from actually being a founder that's actually applying this and working with other founders that are applying these principles and learning from the trenches on how to grow companies in today's environment. If you have a fellow founder, if you have a team member, if you're part of a WhatsApp group or a Slack group of other founders who get value from this video, please share this video with them. It would just mean the world to us as well. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode. And also, all the episodes and the resources that I mentioned in this episode, in this video, will be in the description. And also, post in the comments if you have questions. I always answer, and my team keeps a close eye on it to make sure that everyone's covered. Take care, everybody. love to take a look. Actually, let's cut that. That's a little too giving there. And don't put that in the bloopers either.